Okay, so today we'll start our chapter 1. How many of you have watched the lectures posted? How many have watched the lectures posted? Anyone? You again use the reaction so that I know. Okay, so if I will go over with this one real quick, but in the lectures, in the lecture videos, it's very detailed, and I have covered, I think, each and everything in that from chapter 1 in that video. But today we'll start just by asking journal, what is a program? You have been, as Python was prereq of this course, so you have seen the programs, you have seen what a code looks like and how you run a code and how that thing work. So in your own words, how would you describe a program? Let me open chat and all. Anyone, do you want to unmute or do you want to use the chat? What is a program? Most of the definitions are already on the screen. It's like a software, instructions, anything you're telling to a machine to do anything is designed behind that, and what we call it is a program. So there's like a hardware, there's a software, that's like your previous slides over here, which talks about what is a computer, CPU, mouse, monitor, but we'll start from what are programs. So we are doing the software part. When you think about, or when someone says software, it's about coding. Software, it's not alone, like there are a bunch of other, I would say, profession behind the software. There's software analysis, there's software tester, all of those have different tasks. Only the software developers are the one who are writing the codes. So they're developing the code. So what is a program? You're writing some piece of instructions, you're giving some piece of instructions, even if you're moving your mouse on the screen, that mouse is a hardware, right? But there is a software in your computer who is designed to detect the mouse, to move it, to know what signals I need to catch and what are the tasks I need to do on every signal. So there are different types of program. When it comes to the program, we have different programming languages. We human, there are two types of programming languages. Let me tell you, there is like high-level language and a low-level language. And what's the main difference between high level and low level is, even within this world, if you talk about like we have diversity, right? Everyone speaks like at least maybe 2 language or 3 language, or maybe you're learning a different language as well. So when you communicate in a different country, you are speaking 2 different languages, right? So for computer, it's also designed to have its own language. So computer language is also known as low-level language, or what we call as a binary language. Can anyone tell what binary language is? Have you heard that term before, binary language or low-level language? What's the binary language? It's not close to machine, it's basically the machine language. Machine language, low-level language, binary language, they're all referring to the same thing. Binary means 2, zeros and 1s. So your computer is understanding the binary language, which is zeros and 1, sequence of zeros and 1s, creating for the alphabet, symbols, numbers, for everything. On the other hand, we don't understand what zeros and 1s are, what binary language is. What we understand is English language. So an English-like language, the language we will be writing our code in, is known as a high-level language. So high-level language is basically known as also as a human-like language, which we are understanding. So as long you are understanding or reading something, that what you are reading is a high-level language. Okay, so this is differentiated in 3 different ways. Machine language is a computer language. If you see low-level language, that's a computer. They're all 3 terms. They're referring to the same thing. Low-level language, machine language, binary language, they are all same. We have assembly language in the middle, as you can see in this chart. Assembly language is kind of like a halfway combination, not fully high level, not fully machine language. So it's in the middle. So it talks about, like, as you can see, the references, like not the add addition, the whole word. Is just say add, sub for subtraction, then giving the references, just take these values from register 1, registers 2. Assembly languages usually work with the registers, which you don't have to get into that much because it's a separate programming language, unlike Java. The only thing you need to understand is like it's in the middle. It's not fully high level. It's not fully machine language. Here comes the high level language. So as you can see, it's like an English language. You can see and read the statement in front of you, right? Area equals to 5 times 5 times 3.1415, right? You can read. As long you can read and understand what the statement is, this is a high level language. Any questions on that? What's high level, what's low level? No? All set? Okay. So now the code we will be writing will be in high level language, and computer understand low level language. How to communicate now? What the task you're giving, how the other person on the other side will communicate. So let's assume like you're traveling the world, you don't know any language, you only know English, but you're traveling the world, right? And now, for example, you go to China maybe. So you don't know Chinese, right? So, and the Chinese person don't know maybe English, right? So in between, there will be an interpreter, right? An interpreter who interprets Chinese to you and English to that Chinese person, right? So same thing goes in our programming languages. We have interpreter who translate or make a communication between you and the computer. So when you are talking to the computer, there is a compiler or an interpreter. So they're like, compiler is also kind of like an interpreter. The only difference between compiler and interpreter is how they work. So now how they work. With the compiler, it compiles the whole code, and it compiles the whole code. Like you have written like 50 lines of code, it will compile, and then at the end, it will be like, okay, so I have compiled the whole thing. Now, these are the bunch of errors on these lines, and then go and fix it. That's more easy, right? You can see, okay, on line 1, line 49, line 45, these are the errors. On the other hand, what interpreter does is interpret line by line. So when they interpret line by line, it's like 50 lines of code. You started with line 1, interpreting, line 1 done, all set. Line 2, interpreting, there is an error, maybe a syntax error. It will stop your code, will not interpret rest of the 48 lines, and will stop the code and give you an error, hey, go and fix it. And you're like, okay, let's go and fix. You go back, you fix line 2, this was the error, you fixed it. Now it will start again from line 1, compiling, line 2, okay, the error is fixed. Moving on, line 35, error, stop the code, go back and fix that code. So this is the difference. When interpreter is working, it's interpreting line by line. And if you see an error, it will stop or terminate your code and will ask you to fix the error right now, then I will move forward. But compiler is like, okay, I'll take the whole thing, I will compile, and here's the bunch of lines of code, you need to fix an error and go and fix it. Okay, so Python has interpreter and Java has a compiler. C++ has a compiler too. So there are different interpreters and compilers for different programming languages. So you need to know, like when you are writing a code in Eclipse and when you are running it, it's compiling and then translating into computer and then translating back to you so that on the console you can see your output. Otherwise, if it shows you zeros and ones, you won't understand. So the compiling goes both ways. Okay, so when you are writing, giving instructions, you run and you're like, hey, give this code to the computer. When you're running, it's compiling, it's translating it to binary or machine language. And then computer will see, okay, what's going on? This is the output. These are some equations you have given me. This is some task. And this is the output for you. And the output is in zeros and ones. So the compiler will take and compile and translate and then show you the output. Any questions on that? Anything I am missing or anything that was confusing? Okay, now I will stop the share Let me move my participants list. I just want to share one thing, that there will be, there's an option in your chat that you can only send a message to the instructor. So if you are not comfortable asking questions in front of the class, you can just pick sending it to me, select my name and send your questions over there, okay? Now, if you have Eclipse and if you're on your computers, I really want you to open your Eclipse so that you can do the coding with me on side by side, and we can see if you're having any errors. And it's really good to learn about the errors. Like if students are having any errors in your class, share it with your class, because learning through errors is the way that you're going to learn the code. Okay, so if your code works 100% fine, that's one thing is good, but the learning becomes slow. So if you want to learn a lot, try to fix your classmate errors. As we are not meeting in person, but we are on Zoom, it's going to be really hard. But if students can share their screen and if they have errors, it's just take a look and, sometimes you're like, oh, I didn't catch that. Oh, that's how you fix that error. I haven't seen that error before. But when you see it in the future, you're like, I have seen that and I know how to fix it. So this is your Eclipse. Do you see my Eclipse right now? You see the Eclipse screen? Yes, okay, great. I just wanted to make sure that you're looking at the right screen, okay? So if I'm talking and sharing the wrong screen, do let me know. So you may have seen the welcome window. You can close if you're on your computer. I will ask you to open your Eclipse, do the coding with me. I have explained how to get started with your code. To test if your Eclipse is working fine, is the first thing you do is to print the hello world. How to print the hello world in Python? So simple, right? You just write print hello world and it, boom, it's there. But with Eclipse, with Java, it's not with Eclipse, it's with Java. With Java, it's different. First, we will create our Java project. Go in File, say New, and select Java project. File, New, and Java project. Click on it, and then give a project name. Let's say I'll say this is week 1. So I just want to, make my projects in the sorting order by week, so that in the final exam or in any test, if I have to review, I know this topic was covered in week 3 or week 4, I can directly go and open all those files and see what was the coding done during that week. So this is week 1. If for your Eclipse, this is checked, you have to uncheck it. Uncheck create module info. Okay, uncheck this part. Okay, now say finish. Make sure this is unchecked again. Finish. Don't change any of those things if your Eclipse is working fine. But if it's not, we will take a look. As you can see, my week 1 project is over here on your left side. This is the Package Explorer window where you will see all of your projects and the classes. This is the window we will see we are writing our code. And this is at the bottom, you will see some errors. You will see your output on the console. Right click on your projects. Okay, so after creating the project, this is very important. Usually what students do is that after creating there will be like tons of projects, because as we are moving forward, you will be creating multiple projects. But what they do is they go in File, they say New, and then they directly create a class over here. That is wrong. You don't have to create a class here. It will give an error. Right click on your project, say New, and select class. Okay, if you don't see Package Explorer, go in Windows, Show View, and from here select Package Explorer. Windows, Show View, and select Package Explorer. Then you will see on the side. Click on this, and it will be pop up on your side. Okay. Right click on your project, New, and then we will create a class. All the Java classes, all the coding you do in Java, you need to create this class. So you will be creating a class. This is a Java class. Give it a name. Let's say I will give it a name as test. It already exists. Okay, so let's give it a name. Oh, first program with the Java class. It's just the programming, I would say, rule kind of a thing. It's not going to give you any error or so, but the class names, the first letter must be capital for the class name. Okay, so I won't recommend. Some students usually do check this mark, but if you're checking this part, you won't be able to learn. After like week 4 or 5, then I would say, okay, you can, for a shortcut, you can do or check this statement. Otherwise, as a learning phase, sometimes students don't remember. They don't understand how to start working the basics. This is the basic of programming, and it should be on your fingertips. You should remember instead of relying on Eclipse. And as you know, when you go for interviews for big companies or any software company, you don't get any software to work or test your code, right? You get a whiteboard and a marker, and there you have to write the code. And there you get a lot of syntax errors. And if you're not used to tracing the code or writing the code by hand, you will fail the interview. Definitely you will fail, because the student gets confused. Students rely so much on the computer and the software that when it comes to the paper and pen, they don't know how to write it. So that's why don't check this. We will write it by our hands, typing, but do trace the coding. You will see in the future, like I usually do a lot of like pen and paper kind of a thing. Finish, and there you can see there was the test. Okay, so first program.java. All the Java files have the .java extension. As you can see, .java is the instead of 2 warning. And check the module. Okay, so you already tested and run the code. We will come back to you. Take a look if what I'm doing, if it's something different, then we'll work on your error, okay? So this is the keyword. As you can see, all the keywords pop-up is in like kind of a purple color. I think what color is it? If I'm wrong, just correct me. What color is it? It's red. No. Okay. Public is a keyword, class is a keyword, but first program is your class name. So as you can see, this and this is same. If you change the spelling in the middle, you're like, no, I just want to go with something else. I just want to say something or change my class name to something else. That's not going to happen. You cannot do it. As you can see, Eclipse, there is a red cross on your line, and it is telling you that this file which you are talking about must be defined in its own file. That means this file is not the same. So they both have different, so it means this must be defined in a separate file. So we need to fix that. We need to make sure we are in the same file. So this name and this name must be same. You cannot change it. There is no indentation concept in Java, so you will not receive any errors. If your indentation is wrong, you can do this. You can like do multiple indentation. There is no concept of indentation other than making your code look neat. The most important thing in Java is the curly braces. As you can see, when you start your class, it automatically pops up here, but when you have to write it down on a paper, write a code, you start with public class and the class name, and starting curly braces and ending curly braces. All of your coding will go inside of these curly braces. Now, first thing is we will write our main method. Main method is important in Java to run your code. Without main method, it will run, but you will not see any output on the console. So let's write public. This is the rule, public static void main string square brackets arguments, and as this is Java, starting curly braces and ending curly braces. They both are important. Starting curly, and all of your coding you want to run and see the output goes inside of your main method. So now as you can see, my cursor is inside, and all of this thing we have done just for what? To print hello world. So in Java, this is the task we are doing. These are the steps we are following just to print hello world, and we're not done yet. How we print hello world in Python? How we print hello world in Python? We just say print, right? Double quotation marks, hello world. Yes. Yes, that's how you do entry. Yes. But in Java, let me show you. Capital S system.out.println brackets. And inside of these brackets, double quotation marks and hello world. And end your statement with a semicolon. All Java statements ends with a semicolon. Semicolons are very important. You will see if you miss the semicolon, usually it's part of the syntax error. As you can see, if you don't have a semicolon, Eclipse is giving you a warning. It's telling you, hey, this is a syntax error, insert a semicolon to complete the block statement. So you need to enter a semicolon right over here. So this code will print hello world on the console. No error. Before running your code, you need to make sure you check all these lines. Is there any red cross? No red cross, no errors, nothing. Go to this play icon, which is the top one, like the big one. Click on this play. It says, do you want to run week 1 first program.java? Yes, that's the file. Say okay, run. And at the bottom of your screen, you will see console window where you are looking at your output, hello world. Any questions so far? Any errors so far? This is the play icon. You just click run, and that will ask you one time that window. Otherwise, as I'm running again, it's going to be the same. It's not giving me errors. Andrew, do you want to share your screen with the class so we can fix your error, or do you want to wait till the end of the class? Because what kind of errors you have? Yes, this is the main method. For every class, you have to write public, static, void, main, string, square brackets, and this string S is capital, and rest of them. And Java is case sensitive. So if public P is all of this is lowercase, this will be lowercase. But for system, if it's S is uppercase, this is going to be uppercase. You cannot make S as lowercase. I cannot see your screen. Let me stop the share. Oops. Okay, let's see your screen. Okay, so Andrew, what I am looking at, I have seen this one before. Your Eclipse is not properly installed. Okay, so we will fix your Eclipse error at the end. So it's not your coding error, it's the error associated with your Eclipse. Okay. Yes, so let me share. You can take pictures. If students who don't have their Eclipse installed, take the picture of this code, because Java is case sensitive. After I have covered this part in my video as well, one of the video lecture which I have posted on Canvas. But still, if you want to take a screenshot or take a picture of the code, that's totally fine. So any questions at this point? Where's the chat go? Unable to launch the code. Okay, so Abdullahi, do you want to share your screen? Asad, do you want to share your screen too? Okay, so let's, who's sharing their screen first, Asad or Abdullahi? Asad, you can go ahead. Asad, you there? Okay. Okay, for string, S is capital. See, read the error. Yeah, S is capital in string. Yes, this one. Capital S, and you're missing a semicolon at the end for the second statement. Hello world, yes, and with semicolon. Now run. Big play button, yes. Okay. And you can see you're good. Okay. Now, Abdullahi, do you want to share your screen? Okay, share, go ahead. Anyone else having any errors? Take a look, make sure that you have checked try reading the errors. Try reading that red cross, it will give you suggestion that, hey, you're missing a semicolon, hey, the cap locks or something like that. Okay, so what's the error? Run. Editor does not contain main type. Okay, public static void main string arguments. First program.java. Your J for the Java file is different. That's weird. Let me right click on your say okay, and right click on your week 1. You right click, new, and class. Just write a name, first, FIRST. And finish. No, not the whole program. And Java, in Java, I want to repeat that you cannot have the same name for all the classes. So every class name will be unique as long they're in the same project. So now copy the code. No, not the first, not the class, just the main method. Yeah, like this. Inside, yeah. And no errors, now run. And say, no, wait. Uncheck the first one, uncheck the week 1. Yeah, uncheck, we don't want to run that class. Now say okay. And now you can see the console. The issue, as you can see on the left side, the package explorer indentation. So the mistake was, like, I think you directly went into the file and you didn't right click on the project. So this is the error I was talking about, that whenever you have to create a class, you need to right click on the project and then create the class. All set? Is there anyone else who is having any errors? No? Okay, so let me share my, where's my clips go? I lost my clips. Okay, over here. No more errors. Now let's take a look. So I am doing a shortcut right now here. So just having multiple lines. As you can see, if you want to print multiple, it will be on different lines. You can have system.out.println. All these things will be on your fingertips by week 2, as long you're practicing, because you will be writing it again and again, and then you will remember what is system.out.println, hello world, and whatever, not the hello world, but that's this line. It's important. Okay, now system.out.println, hello world, explanation mark. Here we have, like, let's say stars. Whatever you want to write, run your code, you will see the output over here at the bottom. Now, when you are printing, there are 2 things. As you can see, print and ln. So let's remove ln from all this. ln means new line. So if I remove this ln and run my code, what will happen? Anyone, where's the chat go? What will happen? As that ln was representing new line, I have removed the ln. So it means all of this will be printed on the same line. Yes, correct. They will be on the same line. And when you run, as you can see, they're all on the same line. So that's the difference. There is no error for this. But for example, sometimes you're like, no, I just want to print everything on the same line. It can be fixed if you put a space and it will be readable when you run again. And as you can see, all of them will be in the same line. So if you want to have multiple statements, but they want to be in the same line, just use print, don't use ln, okay? So, and if, for example, I just want print hello world, okay, identify the output for this one. What will be the output for this if I have added ln for the second statement and not on the rest of the two? What will be the output? How the output will look like? Instead of doing it on your Eclipse and running it and telling me the answer, try to observe and think.
So the first two is going to be in the same line, and the last one is going to be another line.
Yes, the last two. So ln means, let's run. Ln means print this statement and then move it to the next line. So print, it printed, right? So my cursor is blinking here, right? Then it says system.out.println hello world. My cursor is here and it will print hello world exclamation mark. And then there was ln, so it means move after printing, then move the cursor to the next line. So after printing these two on the same line, my cursor was moved to the next line because of this ln, and the output hello world is printed on a separate line. Okay, any questions on this? No? Okay. So there are different ways to comment. You have seen comments in Python as well. They are very important. In UW Seattle, they have separate points. They're basically, the whole assignment is based on the comments, and you're not even allowed to make any grammatical mistakes in the comments. And what are comments? When you are working for a software company, you are not working alone on one project. You are not like, hey, I'm creating an AI software model for detecting facial expressions or something. You cannot work alone. There's tons of people all around the world working on that one project. And your task is just this amount, though that's a big one, but it's just a small piece of that bigger project. So you make comments on every line of code, why you have done this, because you never know, company will move you in the middle of the project to some other new project, totally different project, maybe lay you off. So they want whoever is taking your position know what you have done so far. There are two types of comments in Java, multi-line comments and single line comments. Whenever you will see, I think this statement in your one of the assignments in chapter 6, that comment header, add a comment header. What is a comment header in your code? It's like at the top, you write backslash star, and as you can see, rest of the code just turned into red. So backslash star is for multi-line comments. Multi-line comments mean when you have multiple lines of comments, and there you're like, okay, I have to write a paragraph on it, or have to give in 2 or 3 lines of explanation. So you start with multi-line. So you start the comment. This is means starting of the comment. Say enter, and this is the ending of the comment, like star and then backslash. So this is forward slash, and then this is backslash, and then you have multiple stars in the middle, that all these lines are comments. So whatever you write here in the middle, anything, it's not compiled. Comments are ignored by compilers. So they, as you can see, there are no errors listed that they hear what you are typing. But if I write anything outside of this, like this, there's an error, and compiler is like, what's going on here, right? So comment header is always at the top, and you write about your name. Maybe you can say Sayyida Nizami, write your name, some description. This is my first Java program. I am in CS&141. Class name, assignment number 1, and a small description about this program prints hello world. So this is known as a multi-line comments and a comment header, which means your name, your task, like your class assignment name, maybe sometimes your instructor name, who you're submitting to, and then what this code does, what's the purpose of this code. And you're like, hey, this is for just to print hello world. Maybe this is a code for a calculator, or this code is a tic-tac-toe game, or plays a tic-tac-toe game with a computer, or a rock, paper, scissors game, anything what your code does. So this is multi-line comments. As you can see, I was just writing, and I don't have to worry about the comment part, right? Then there are single line comments. Single line comments in Python, Java is like double backslash like this. Two slashes, and then this is a main method. And then when I say enter, the comment scope is gone. So if I write anything else, that's an error, and that is detected by a compiler. So for single line comment, they are in single line, and you do it like this, and there is no closing. When you say enter, the scope of comment is gone. Okay, so this is the main method. Maybe you're right. Single line comments are like, usually you will see more of those in future when you are using for loops. If condition, you're like, why you are using if condition, why you are using for loop. There you write like single line. You have to identify. Like if you think there is an explanation I'm writing, then use this comment way of commenting. If you think it's a one-line comment, just use this way of commenting, single line comment. Any questions so far on comments? No? All set? Okay, I think last part we need to discuss is the errors. How many types of errors are there? How many types of errors do we have? Use the chat, at least if you're not unmuting yourself. How many types of errors do we have? 3. Which one? One is the most common one, which I've been talking about, which is the syntax error. Yes, syntax error. And what syntax errors are? They're very easy to detect because they are detected by the compiler, and it helps you to fix it right away. It's like if you go wrong with the programming grammar. So what's a programming grammar? Like Java said that this is a public, this is a class, and there are keywords, and you cannot change the spelling, and you say class. Oops. You cannot say there will be 3s in my class. No. As you can see, this is a syntax error, and Java won't let you, Eclipse won't let you run. Then if you miss a curly brace, if you're missing a semicolon, parenthesis, anything like that, missing a dot where it is required, then these are all known as syntax error. They are easy, they are identifiable, like you can fix it right on the spot. The other ones are logical errors. Yes, logical errors. What are logical errors? Anyone want to unmute and talk about logical errors? Are they easy to find? Yes, no. You can use reactions for a quick response. They are hard to find. Yes, they are hard to find. Logical errors are also known as human-made errors. And what those errors might be, for example, I am saying word, and there is a spelling mistake, right? I'm like, hey, why this is printing word? I'm not sure. The word spelling of word must be word. So I need to go back. It's not identifiable by the compiler. It will run, and you're like, hey, what's going on with the code? Usually, logical errors are when you are working with some mathematical equations, some calculations. So where it's, a division, you're doing multiplication, you're missing an operator or something. That's where we call it, that's a logical error, because you have to go through your whole code. This is a small code with like 20 lines. That's easy to see, but there the coding usually is like 100, 200 lines of code. And there it's really hard to find the logical error because your code is running. Compiler has given a green signal, you can run, you can see the output, but the output is not what is expected. The calculation is wrong. So there you see that, okay, that's a human-made error, that's a logical error. The third one will be runtime error. What are runtime errors? Yes, Colin, that's absolutely correct. What are runtime errors? Runtime errors are more worse than syntax and logical. So runtime errors are not detected by the compiler or the Eclipse. They are not detected by the programmer as well. There's not a programmer mistake. Runtime means, as you can see, it comes when you run the code. Usually those error comes when your code relies on user's output or input, sorry, user's input. For example, my code is to divide two numbers. I'm taking value A, value B, and I'm dividing it by dividing both of those numbers, and I'm printing the result. So and I'm asking those values from user. So yes, when you divide the value, maybe I'm asking numerator and denominator from the user, or A and B, and then users say A is 1, B is 0. 1 divided by 0, what will be the output? So that kind of equation, something they are known as runtime error. We are not in control sometimes, but if you know, such for example, if I'm dividing, I know that this might occur, and by mathematical means, we have learned that there is a possibility user may say 1 divided by 0. I can put an if condition in my code and say, if something like this happens, throw an exception, throw a message to user, and tell user this is wrong. Okay. And similar example of runtime error will be, maybe you're asking user that, and give me a string, and then tell me a substring, and I will print that substring from that string. And this length of that string is, for example, 5, and users say the substring I want is 10. So that is kind of a runtime error that, hey, that length doesn't match. Substring means I will take a piece from that string, not create a separate new bigger string. They are not called as bugs because they are made by the users. Bugs are usually bugs usually known as the errors, which is kind of the syntax error, or we can call it as like, the logical error. But runtime is like, sometimes when you're running the code by mathematical means, by different means, like logical means, I would say that is wrong, but user is trying to play with the computer on purpose, maybe sometimes, when we are clicking, tapping some of the websites, and they're like, hey, wait, and it's loading, and we keep on clicking it. That's the user's fault, right? You need to wait for the computer to load. And similar kind of thing. Like if I know as a user that I cannot do 1 divided by 0, why I am giving those values to a computer? So yes, okay, yes. Okay, so yes, okay, so any questions so far regarding these 3 errors? Any questions? Let me stop the share and let me share, as our time is almost up. I just want to share a quick practice thing, which you can do it at home. Here is my, okay. Okay, can you see chapter 1 videos in PPT? These are the PowerPoint slides you can find. And this is chapter 1 programming exercise. And this is another programming exercise. If you want to practice system.out.println, just follow, system.out.println and copy and print these stars and pictures and run your code and see. Even if you do just half of this cone, that will be fine too. This is just for your practice at home. This is something really good. If you click on it, there is a code. This is the first code which you need to fix to make it run. And these are the two coding which you need to print and run and see. It's just like printing your name, simple, whatever we have discussed and done in the class. Don't follow the video that closely. I think in the video as well, I have mentioned that go with the latest version, or in the description, I have mentioned go with the latest version of JDK and Eclipse. Okay, so let me stop the share. Okay, anything else? Anything you want to share right now? Questions? No? Hopefully the lecture was helpful. See you all on Monday next week. Let me stop the